Blessed love and peace, Rastafari. This is a recitation of Tobadi Gokadao, Torah, Bhagavad Gita, Dignikaya, Dhammapada, Gospels, Quran, and Tao Te Ching. This week is portion numero 34, which is Bamidbar, which includes from Torah Parsha Bamidbar, which is Bamidbar 1 a 4:26. From the Chandogya Upanishad, it is Kanda 5:11 a 24. From the Bhagavad Gita, it is the Deva Sura Sampad Vibhaga Yogehe, número 16. From the Tao Te Ching, it is chapters 40 and 41. From Minka, it is chapter 14 of 28. From the Digha Nikaya, it is the Sakapanya Sutta 21, chapter 1. From the Dhammapada, it is the Arahanta Vaga, número 7. From the Gospels, it is Luke, chapters 23 a 24. From the Quran, it is Surah Al-Mu'min, which is número 40. And also the Tadvarta Sutra, 1:1 a 1:5. And the Anirat. Bismillah ar-Rahmani ar-Rahim. Allahu Akbar. Dao ke dao fe chong dao. Min ke min fe chong min. Ja Rastafari. Deus noster qui es in cieli, sanctificator nomen tuum. Vaheguru Sanam. Baruch ata Elohim, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch ata Elohim, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kasanu b'mitotav v'tzivanu nosok b'dvar Torah. Amen. Kyrie eleison. Sevamastu savajagatehe. Sabe sata bhavantu sukhitata. Vagabiyam. Aquaba upendo na amani. Fikiri nesalami. Chinta dam peramia la liba vamia womanjika. Ubuntu shabana fakitka. Sheshem kamosunira domo arigato pedama yellow wakatako toko doko shingun gomadigan. God, we thank you for all that you bless us. Ata jamia yata afnami. Adom, Ahom, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Amen. Torah Bamidbar 1:1 a 4:20. Elohim spoke to Moshe in the Sinai desert in the tent of meeting on the first day of the second month in the second year after the exodus from the land of Egypt, saying, Take the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel, by families following their fathers' houses, a head count of every male according to the number of their names. From 20 years old and upwards, all who are fit to go out to the army in Israel, you shall count them by their legions, you and Aaron. With you there shall be a man from each tribe, one who is head of his father's house. These are the names of the men who shall stand with you. For Reuben, Elitzur, the son of Shedur. For Shimon, Shelomiel, the son of Zurishaddai. For Yehuda, Nashon, the son of Aminadab. For Issachar, Netanel, the son of Zoar. For Zebulun, Eliav, the son of Helon. For the children of Joseph, for Ephraim, Elishama, the son of Amihud. For Manasseh, Gamliel, the son of Pedazur. For Benjamin, Abidan, the son of Gideoni. For Dan, Ahiezer, the son of Amishadai. For Asher, Pagiel, the son of Ochan. For Gad, Eliasaph, the son of Deuel. For Naphtali, Ahira, the son of Anan. These were the ones summoned by the congregation, the princes of the tribes of their fathers. They are the heads of the thousands of Israel. Then Moshe and Aaron took these men who were indicated by their names, and they assembled all the congregation on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, according to the number of names, a head count of every male from 20 years old and upwards. As Elohim commanded Moshe, so did he count them in the Sinai desert. This was the sum of the children of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses. The number of individual names of every male from 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Reuben were 46,500. Of the tribe of Shimon, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, his tally according to the number of individual names of every male from 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Shimon, 59,300. Of the tribe of Gad, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, the number of individual names of every male from 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Gad, 45,650. Of the tribe of Yehuda, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, the number of individual names of every male from 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Yehuda, 74,600. Of the tribe of Issachar, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, the number of individual names of every male from 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Issachar, 54,400. Of the tribe of Zebulun, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, the number of individual names of every male from 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Zebulun, 57,400. Of the children of Joseph, of the tribe of Ephraim, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, the number of individual names of every male from 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Ephraim, 40,500. Of the tribe of Manasseh, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, the number of individual names of every male from 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Manasseh, 32,200. Of the tribe of Benjamin, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, the number of individual names of every male from 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Benjamin, 35,400. Of the tribe of Dan, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, the number of individual names of every male 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Dan, 62,700. Of the tribe of Asher, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, the number of individual names of every male from 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Asher, 41,500. Of the tribe of Naphtali, their descendants according to their families, according to their fathers' houses, the number of individual names of every male 20 years old and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. Those counted from the tribe of Naphtali, 53,400. These are the numbered ones whom Moshe and Aaron and the 12 princes of Israel counted, each one representing his father's house. All the children of Israel were counted according to their fathers' houses, from 20 years and upwards, all who were fit to go out to the army. The sum of all those who were counted, 603,550. But the Levites according to their fathers' tribe were not numbered amongst them. Elohim spoke to Moshe, saying, Only the tribe of Levi you shall not number, and you shall not reckon their sum amongst the children of Israel. But you shall appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of the testimony, over all its vessels, and over all that belong to it. They shall carry the tabernacle, and they shall minister to it, and they shall encamp around the tabernacle. When the tabernacle is set to travel, the Levites shall dismantle it, and when the tabernacle camps, the Levites shall erect it. Any outsider, non-Levite, who approaches shall be put to death. The children of Israel shall encamp each man by his own camp, and each man by his division. The Levites shall encamp around the Mishkan of the testimony, so that there be no wrath upon the congregation of the children of Israel, and the Levites shall keep the charge of the Mishkan of the testimony. And the children of Israel did according to all that Elohim had commanded Moshe, thus did they do. Elohim spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, The children of Israel shall encamp each man by his division with the flagstaffs of their father's house. Some distance from the tent of meeting they shall encamp. Those camping in front to the east were the legions under the division of the camp of Yehuda. The prince of the children of Yehuda was Nashon, the son of Aminadab. His legion numbered 74,600. Camping next to him, the tribe of Issachar. The prince of the children of Issachar were Netanel, the son of Zoar. His legion numbered 54,400. Then the tribe of Zebulun, and the prince of the children of Zebulun was Eliav, the son of Helon. His legion numbered 57,400. The total sum for the legions of Yehuda's camp was 186,400. these shall journey first. The legions under the division of the camp of Reuben were to the south. The prince of the children of Reuben was Elidzur, the son of Shadur. His legion numbered 46,500. Camping next to him, the tribe of Shimon. The prince of the children of Shimon was Shelumiel, the son of Zerushadai. His legion numbered 59,300. Then the tribe of Gad. The prince of the children of Gad was Eliasaph, the son of Reuel. His legion numbered 45,650. The total sum for the legions of Reuben's camp was 151,450. They shall be the second to set out. Then the tent of meeting shall set out with the Levite camp in the center of the other camps. Just as they camp, so shall they travel, each man in his place, by their divisions. The legions under the division of the camp of Ephraim were to the west. The prince of the children of Ephraim was Elishama, the son of Ammihud. His legion numbered 40,500. Next to him, the tribe of Manasseh. The prince of the children of Manasseh was Gamliel, the son of Pedazur. His legion numbered 32,200. Then the tribe of Benjamin. The prince of the children of Benjamin was Abidan, the son of Gideoni. His legion numbered 35,400. The total sum for the legions under the division of the camp of Ephraim was 108,100. They shall be the third to set out. The legions under the division of the camp of Dan were to the north. The prince of the children of Dan were Ahiezer, the son of Ammishaddai. His legion numbered 62,700. Camping next to him was the tribe of Asher. The prince of the children of Asher was Pagiel, the son of Ochran. His legion numbered 41,500. Then the tribe of Naphtali. The prince of the children of Naphtali was Ahira, the son of Enan. His legion numbered 53,400. The total sum for the legions under the division of the camp of Dan was 157,600. They shall be the last to set out. These are the numbers of the Israelites according to their fathers' houses. The total number of legions of the camps was 603,550. However, the Levites were not counted with the rest of the Israelites, as Elohim had commanded Moshe. The Israelites did all that Elohim had commanded Moshe. They encamped by their divisions, and so did they journey, each man with his family according to his father's house. These are the descendants of Moshe and Aaron on the day that Elohim spoke to Moshe at Mount Sinai. These are the names of the sons of Aaron: Nadav, the firstborn, Avihu, Eleazar, and Itamar. These are the names of the sons of Aaron, the anointed Kohanim, whom he consecrated to serve as Kohanim. Nadav and Avihu died before Elohim when they brought alien fire before Elohim in the Sinai desert, and they had no children. Eleazar and Itamar, however, served as Kohanim in the presence of Aaron their father. Elohim spoke to Moshe, saying, "Bring forth the tribe of Levi and present them before Aaron the Kohen, that they may serve him. They shall keep his charge and the charge of the entire community before the tent of meeting to perform the service of the Mishkan. They shall take charge of all the vessels of the tent of meeting and the charge of the children of Israel to perform the service of the Mishkan. You shall give over the Levites to Aaron and his sons. They shall be wholly given over to him from the children of Israel. You shall appoint Aaron and his sons, and they shall keep their kahuna. Any outsider, non-Kohen, who approaches shall be put to death." Elohim spoke to Moshe, saying, "As for me, I have taken the Levites from amongst the children of Israel, in place of all firstborns amongst the children of Israel, who have opened the womb, and the Levites shall be mine. For all the firstborns are mine. Since the day I smote all the firstborns in the land of Egypt, I sanctified for myself all the firstborns of Israel, both man and beast. They shall become mine. I am Elohim." Elohim spoke to Moshe in the Sinai desert, saying, "Count the children of Levi according to their father's house, according to their families. Count all males from the age of 1 month and upward." So Moshe counted them according to Elohim's word, just as he was commanded. These were the names of Levi's sons: Gershon, Kohat, and Merari. The names of the sons of Gershon according to their families were Livni and Shemai. And the sons of Kohat according to their families were Amram, Idzar, Hebron, and Uziel. And the sons of Merari according to their families were Mali and Mushi. These are the families of Levi according to their fathers' houses. For Gershon, the Libnite family, and the Shimeite family, these are the Gershonite families. Their sum was made according to the number of males from the age of 1 month and upwards. The tally amounted to 7,500. The Gershonite family shall camp behind the Mishkan to the west. The prince of the fathers' house of the Gershonites is Eliasaph, the son of Lael. The charge of the sons of Gershon in the tent of meeting included the Mishkan, the tent, its cover, and the screen for the entrance to the tent of meeting, the hangings of the courtyard, the screen at the entrance to the courtyard which is around the Mishkan, and the altar, its ropes, as well as all the work involved. For Kohat the Amorite, Amramite family, the Izharite family, the Hebronite family, and the Uzzielite family. These are the families of Kohat. The number of all males from the age of 1 month and upwards amounted to 8,600, the keepers of the charge of the holy. The families of the sons of Kohat shall camp to the south side of the Mishkan. The prince of the far's house of the Kohathite families is Eliasaphan, the son of Uzziel. Their charge included the ark of the table, the menorah, the altars, and the holy utensils with which they would minister, and the screen and all the work involved. The prince over all the princes of the Levites shall be Eleazar, the son of Aaron the Kohen, the appointment of all the keepers of the charge of the holy. For Merari, the Machlite family, and the Mushite family, these are the families of Merari. Their tally according to the number of males from the age of 1 month and upwards was 6,200. The prince of the far's house of the Merarite families is Zuriel, the son of Abihail. They shall encamp on the north side of the Mishkan. The appointment of the charge of the sons of Merari included the planks of the Mishkan, its bars, its pillars, and its sockets, all its utensils, and all the work involved. Also the pillars of the surrounding courtyard, their sockets, their stakes, and their ropes. Camping in front of the Mishkan in front of the tent of meeting to the east were Moshe, Aaron, and his sons, the keepers of the charge of the sanctuary, as a trust for the children of Israel. Any outsider who approaches shall be put to death. The sum of the male Levites according to their families from the age of 1 month and upwards, counted by Moshe and Aaron according to the word of Elohim, was 22,000. Elohim said to Moshe, count every firstborn male aged 1 month and upwards of the children of Israel, and take the number of their names. And you shall take the Levites for me. I am Elohim instead of all firstborns amongst the children of Israel, and take the Levites' animals instead of all the firstborn animals of the children of Israel. So Moshe counted every firstborn of Israel as Elohim had commanded him. The firstborn males aged 1 month and upwards, according to the number of names, was 22,273. Elohim spoke to Moshe, saying, take the Levites instead of all the firstborns amongst the children of Israel, and the Levites' animals instead of their animals, and the Levites shall be mine. I am Elohim. As for the 273 of the children of Israel who required redemption, who are in excess of the Levites, you shall take 5 shekels per head, according to the holy shekel, by which the shekel is 20 gerahs. You shall give the money to Aaron and his sons in redemption for the firstborns who are in excess of them. So Moshe took the redemption money for those in excess of those redeemed by the Levites. He took the money from the firstborn of the children of Israel, 1,365 of the holy shekels. Then Moshe gave the money of those redeemed to Aaron and his sons in accordance with the word of Elohim, as Elohim had commanded Moshe. Elohim spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, make a count of the sons of Kohat from amongst the children of Levi by their families according to their fathers' houses, from the age of 30 until the age of 50, all who enter the service to do the work in the tent of meeting. The following is the service of the sons of Kohat in the tent of meeting, the Holy of Holies. When the camp is about to travel, Aaron and his sons shall come and take down the dividing curtain. With it they shall cover the ark of the testimony. They shall place upon it a covering of tachash skin, and on the top of that they shall spread a cloth of pure blue wool. Then they shall put its poles in place. They shall spread a cloth of blue wool on the show table, and they shall place on it the forms, spoons, supports, and covering frames. The continual bread can then be placed upon it. They shall spread upon them a cloth of crimson wool, and cover that with a covering of tachash skin. Then they shall put its poles into place. They shall take a blue cloth and cover the menorah for lighting, and its lamps, its tongs, and its scoops, and all its oil vessels utilized in performing its service. They shall put it and its vessels into a covering of tachash skin and place it on a pole. They shall spread a cloth of blue wool over the golden altar and cover it with a covering of tachash skin, and then set its poles in place. They shall then take all the vessels utilized in the holy, put them into a cloth of blue wool, cover them with a covering of tachash skin, and put them onto a pole. They shall remove the ashes from the altar and spread a cloth of purple wool over it. They shall place on it all the utensils with which they minister upon it, the scoops, the forks, the shovels, and the basins, all the implements of the altar. Then they shall spread over it a covering of tachash skin and set its poles into place. Aaron and his sons shall finish covering the holy and all the vessels of the holy when the camp is set to travel, and following that the sons of Kohat shall come to carry them, but they shall not touch the sacred objects, for then they will die. These are the burden of the sons of Kohat for the tent of meeting. The charge of Eleazar the son of Aaron the Kohen, oil for lighting, the incense of spices, the continual daily meal offering, and the anointing oil, the charge for the entire Mishkan and all that is in it, of the holy and its furnishings. Elohim spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, Do not cause the tribe of the families of Kohath to be cut off from amongst the Levites. Do this for them, so that they should live and not die when they approach the Holy of Holies. Aaron and his sons shall first come and appoint each man individually to his task and his load. They shall not come in to see when the holy vessels are being wrapped up, lest they die. Chandogya Upanishad, Part 5, número 11 a 24. Prachinasala, the son of Upamanyu, Satyanyanya, the son of Pulusha, Indradyumna, the grandson of Balavi, Jana, the son of Sakaraksha, and Budila, the son of Asvatarasva, great householders and great scriptural scholars, came together and discussed the question, what is ourself and what is Brahman? They solved the problem with the words, Revered sirs, Udalaka, the son of Aruna, knows at present about the Vashvanara self. Let us go to him. They went to him. He, Udalaka, concluded, These great householders and great scriptural scholars will question me. Perhaps I shall not be able to tell them everything. Therefore I shall direct them to another teacher. He said to them, Revered sirs, King Asvapati, the son of Kekaya, knows at present about the Vashvanara self. Let us all go to him. They went to him. When they arrived, the king ordered that proper respect should be paid to each of them. The next matin, after leaving bed, he said to them, In my kingdom there is no thief, no miser, no wine-bibber, no man without a sacrificial fire, no ignorant person, no adulterer, much less adulteress. Revered sirs, I am going to perform an offering. I shall give to you as much wealth as I give to each priest. Please, revered sirs, stay here. They said, If a person comes to another with a purpose, he should tell the other only about that. At present you know about the Vashvanara self. Please tell us about Brahman. He said to them, I shall give you a reply mañana in the matin. The next matin they approached him with fuel in their hands without having performed any initiatory rites. The king said to them, O son of Upamanyu, whom do you meditate on as the self? Heaven only, venerable sovereign. Venerable king, he replied. The self you meditate on, said the king, is the Vasvanara self called the benevolent light, Sutejas. Therefore one sees in your family the Sutta libation as also the Prasuta libation and the Asuta libation, and you eat food and see what is pleasing. Whoever thus meditates on the Vasvanara self eats food, sees what is pleasing, and has in his family the glory of Brahman. That, however, is only the head of the self. Surely your head would have fallen off if you had not come to me. Then he said to Satyajaya, the son of Pulusha, O Prachinayogya, whom do you meditate on as the self? The sole only, venerable king, he replied. The self you meditate on, said the king, is the Vasvanara self called the universal form, Visvarupa. Therefore one sees in your family much and manifold wealth. There are ready the chariot and mules, female servants, and gold necklaces, and you eat food and see what is pleasing. Whoever thus meditates on the Vasvanara self eats food, sees what is pleasing, and has in his family the glory of Brahman. That, however, is only the eye of the self. Surely you would have become blind if you had not come to me. Then he said to Indradyumna, the grandson of Balavi, O Vyagrapaja, whom do you meditate on as the self? The air only, venerable king, he replied. The self you meditate on, said the king, is the Vasvanara self of varied courses, Pritag Vartma. Therefore gifts come to you in various ways, rows of chariots follow you in various ways, and you eat food and see what is pleasing. Whoever thus meditates on the Vasvanara self eats food, sees what is pleasing, and has in his family the glory of Brahman. That, however, is only the prana of the self. Surely your prana would have left you if you had not come to me. Then he said to Jana, the son of Sakaraksha, whom do you meditate on as the self? The Akasha only, venerable king, he replied. The self you meditate on, said the king, is the Vasvanara self called Bahula, full. Therefore you are full of offspring and wealth, and you eat food and see what is pleasing. Whoever thus meditates on the Vasavanara self, eats food, sees what is pleasing, and has in his family the glory of Brahman. That, however, is only the trunk of the self. Surely your trunk would have been destroyed if you had not come to me. Then he said to Budila, the son of Asvatarasva, O Vyagrapaja, whom do you meditate on as the self? Water only, venerable king, he replied. The self you meditate on, said the king, is the Vasavanara self, called Rayi, wealth. Therefore you are wealthy and flourishing, and you eat food and see what is pleasing. Whoever thus meditates on the Vasavanara self eats food, sees what is pleasing, and has in his family the glory of Brahman. That, however, is only the bladder of the self. Surely your bladder would have burst if you had not come to me. Then he said to Udalaka, the son of Aruna, O Gotama, whom do you meditate on as the self? The earth only, venerable king, he replied. The self you meditate on, said the king, is the Vasavanara self, called Pratishta, the support. Therefore you are supported by offspring and cattle, and you eat food and see what is pleasing. Whoever thus meditates on the Vasavanara self, eats food, sees what is pleasing, and has in his family the glory of Brahman. That, however, is only the feet of the self. Surely your feet would have withered away if you had not come to me. Then he, the king, said to them all, You, being endowed with limited knowledge, eat your food, knowing that Vasavanara self as if Brahman were many. But he who worships the Vasavanara self as the measure of the span from earth to heaven, and as identical with the self, eats food in all worlds and all beings and in all selves. Of this Vasavanara self, the head is Sutejas, the benevolent life, the eye, Visvarupa, the universal form, the prana, Pritag Vartma, of various courses, the trunk, Bahula, full, the bladder, Rayi, wealth, the feet, Pritivi, the earth, the chest, the Vedi, altar, the hair, the Kusha grass, on the altar, the heart, the Garhapatya, fire, the mind, the Anvaharya, fire, and the mouth, the Ahavaniya, fire. Therefore the food that comes first should be offered as an oblation. The first oblation that he, the eater, offers, he should offer, saying, Svaha to the prana. Then the prana is satisfied. The prana being satisfied, the eye is satisfied. The eye being satisfied, the soleil is satisfied. The soleil being satisfied, heaven is satisfied. Heaven being satisfied, whatever is under heaven and under the soleil is satisfied. They being satisfied, he, the eater or offerer, is satisfied with offspring, cattle, food, brightness of the body, and the light of Brahman. The second oblation that he offers, he should offer, saying, Svaha to the Vyana. Then the Vyana is satisfied. The Vyana being satisfied, the ear is satisfied. The ear being satisfied, the moon is satisfied. The moon being satisfied, the quarters are satisfied. The quarters being satisfied, whatever is under the quarters and under the moon is satisfied. They being satisfied, the eater is satisfied with offspring, cattle, food, brightness of the body, and the light of Brahman. The third oblation that he offers, he should offer, saying, Svaha to the Apana. Then the Apana is satisfied. The Apana being satisfied, speech, the tongue is satisfied. Speech being satisfied, fire is satisfied. Fire being satisfied, the earth is satisfied. The earth being satisfied, what is under the earth and under fire is satisfied. They being satisfied, the eater is satisfied with offspring, cattle, food, brightness of the body, and the light of Brahman. The fourth oblation that he offers, he should offer, saying, Svaha to the Samana. Then the Samana is satisfied. The Samana being satisfied, the mind is satisfied. The mind being satisfied, the rain, the celestial of rain is satisfied. The celestial of rain being satisfied, the lightning is satisfied. The lightning being satisfied, what is under the lightning and under the celestial of rain is satisfied. They being satisfied, the eater is satisfied with offspring, cattle, food, brightness of the body, and the light of Brahman. The fifth oblation that he offers, he should offer, saying, Svaha to the Yodhana. Then the Yodhana is satisfied. The Yodhana being satisfied, the skin is satisfied. The skin being satisfied, the air is satisfied. The air being satisfied, the Akasha is satisfied. The Akasha being satisfied, what is under the air and under the Akasha is satisfied. They being satisfied, the eater is satisfied with offspring, cattle, food, brightness of the body, and the light of Brahman. If without knowing this knowledge of the Vasavanara self, one offers an Agniotri oblation, it is like an oblation offered in dead ashes after removing the live coals. But if knowing this one offers an Agnihotra oblation, it is like an oblation offered in all the worlds, in all beings, and in all Atmans. Even as the soft fibers of the Ishika reed, when thrown into fire, are burnt, so also are burnt all the sins of one who, knowing this, offers an Agnotri oblation. Therefore, even if a man who knows this gives what is left of his food to a chandala, he verily offers it to his Vasvanara self. On this there is the following verse. As here on earth hungry children gather around their more, so do all beings gather around the Agnihotri offering, yea, around the Agnihotri offering. Bhagavad Gita. Devasura Sampad Vibhaga Yogehe. Número 16. Shri Krishna says, fearlessness, purity of heart, steadfastness in knowledge and yoga, charity, self-control and offering, study of the scriptures, austerity and uprightness, non-violence, truth and freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility and aversion to slander, compassion to beings and freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, and absence of fickleness, courage, forgiveness, and fortitude, purity and freedom from malice and overweening pride. These belong to him who is born with sacred treasures. Ostentatious, arrogance and self-conceit, anger, rudeness, and ignorance. These belong to him who is born to the heritage of the demons. The sacred treasures are said to be for the purpose of liberation, and the heritage of the demons for bondage. Grieve not, O Pandava, you are born with sacred treasures. There are two types of beings created in this world, the sacred and the demoniac. The sacred have been described at length. Hear now from me, O Partha, concerning the demoniac. Men of demoniac nature know not what to do and what to refrain from doing. Purity is not in them, nor benevolent conduct, nor truth. They say the world is devoid of truth, without a virtuous base, and without a God. It is brought about by the union of male and female, and lust alone is its cause. What else? Holding such a view, these lost souls of little understanding and fierce deeds rise as the enemies of the world for its destruction. Giving themselves up to insatiable desires full of hypocrisy, pride, and arrogance, they hold false views through delusion and act with impure resolve. Beset with innumerable cares which will end only with death, looking on the gratification of desire as their highest goal, and feeling sure that this is all, bound by 100 ties of hope, given up wholly to lust and wrath, they strive by unjust means to amass wealth for the satisfaction of their passions. This I have gained today, and that longing I will fulfill. This wealth is mine, and that also shall be mine in future. That enemy I have slain, and others too I will slay. I am the master of all. I enjoy. I am prosperous, mighty, and happy. I am rich. I am of high birth. Who else is equal to me? I will offer offerings. I will give. I will rejoice. Thus deluded by ignorance, bewildered by many fancies, entangled in the meshes of delusion, addicted to the gratification of lust, they fall into a loathsome hell. Self-honored, haughty, filled with the pride and the intoxication of wealth, they ostentatiously perform offerings which are so only in name, in utter disregard of precepts. Possessed of egotism, power, and pride, and also of lust and wrath, these people, envious by nature, hate me in the bodies of others and in their own. These cruel haters, these evildoers, these vilest of men, I hurl always into the wombs of the demons in the cycle of births and deaths. Having fallen into the wombs of the demons and being deluded from birth to birth, they never attain me, O son of Kunti, but go further down to the lowest state. 3 are the gateways of this hell, leading to the ruin of the self: lust, wrath, and greed. Therefore let men renounce these 3. The man who has escaped these 3 gates of darkness, O son of Kunti, practices what is benevolent for himself, and thus attains the supreme goal. He who discards the injunctions of the scriptures and acts upon the impulse of desire attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme goal. Therefore let the scriptures be your authority in determining what ought to be done and what ought not to be done. Having learned the injunctions of the scriptures, you should do your work in the world. Tao Te Ching, chapters 40 and 41. 40. The returning is the movement of the Tao. The weak is the utilization of the Tao. The myriad things of the world are born of being. Being is born of non-being. Chapter 41. Higher people hear of the Tao. They diligently practice it. Average people hear of the Tao. They sometimes keep it and sometimes lose it. Lower people hear of the Tao. They laugh loudly at it. If they do not laugh, it would not be the Tao. Therefore, a proverb has the following. The clear Tao appears unclear. The advancing Tao appears to retreat. The smooth Tao appears uneven. High virtue appears like a valley. Great integrity appears like disgrace. Encompassing virtue appears insufficient. Building virtue appears inactive. True substance appears inconstant. The great square has no corners. The great vessel is late in completion. The great music is imperceptible in sound. The great image has no form. The Tao is hidden and nameless, yet it is only the Tao that excels in giving and completing everything. Menke, chapter 14 of 28. Menke says, the path of duty lies in what is near, and men seek for it in what is remote. The work of duty lies in what is easy, and men seek for it in what is difficult. If each man would love his parents and show the due respect to his elders, the whole land would enjoy tranquility. Menke says, when those occupying inferior situations do not obtain the confidence of the sovereign, they cannot succeed in governing the people. There is a way to obtain the confidence of the sovereign. If one is not trusted by his friends, he will not obtain the confidence of his sovereign. There is a way of being trusted by one's friends. If one do not serve his parents so as to make them pleased, he will not be trusted by his friends. There is a way to make one's parents pleased. If one, on turning his thoughts inwards, finds a want of sincerity, he will not give pleasure to his parents. There is a way to the attainment of sincerity in oneself. If a man do not understand what is benevolent, he will not attain sincerity in himself. Therefore, sincerity is the way of heaven. To think how to be sincere is the way of man. To think how to be sincere is the way of man. Never has there been one possessed of complete sincerity who did not move others. Never has there been one who had not sincerity who was able to move others. Menke says, Bo Yi, that he might avoid Zhao, was dwelling on the coast of the northern sea. When he heard of the rise of King Wen, he roused himself and said, why should I not go and follow him? I have heard that the chief of the west knows well how to nourish the old. Tai Gong, that he might avoid Zhao, was dwelling on the coast of the eastern sea. When he heard of the rise of King Wen, he roused himself and said, why should I not go and follow him? I have heard that the chief of the west knows well how to nourish the old. Those two old men were the greatest old men of the kingdom. When they came to follow King Wen, it was the Fars of the kingdom coming to follow him. When the Fars of the kingdom joined him, how could the sons go to any other? Were any of the princes to practice the government of King Wen, within 7 years he would be sure to be giving laws to the kingdom. Menke says, Qi acted as chief officer to the head of the Ji family, whose evil ways he was unable to change, whilst he exacted from the people double the grain formerly paid. Confucius said, he is no disciple of mine. Little children beat the drum and assail him. Looking at the subject from this case, we perceive that when a prince was not practicing benevolent government, all his ministers who enriched him were rejected by Confucius. How much further would he have rejected those who are vehement to fight for their prince? When contentions about territory are the ground on which they fight, they slaughter men until the fields are filled with them. When some struggle for a city is the ground on which they fight, they slaughter men till the city is filled with them. This is what is called leading on the land to devour human flesh. Death is not enough for such a crime. Therefore, those who are skillful to fight should suffer the highest punishment. Next to them should be punished those who unite some princes in leagues against others, and next to them those who take in grassy commons, imposing the cultivation of the ground on the people. Menko says, of all the parts of a man's body, there is none further excellent than the pupil of the eye. The pupil cannot be utilized to hide a man's wickedness. If within the breast all be correct, the pupil is bright. If within the breast all be not correct, the pupil is dull. Listen to a man's words and look at the pupil of his eye. How can a man conceal his character? Menko says, the respectful do not despise others, the economical do not plunder others. The prince who treats men with despite and plunders them is only afraid that he may not prove obedient to him. Is only afraid that they may not prove obedient to him. How can he be regarded as respectful or economical? How can respectfulness and economy be made out of tones of the voice and a smiling manner? Chun Yu Kung says, is it the rule that males and females shall not allow their hands to touch in giving or receiving anything? Menko replies, it is the rule. Kung asks, if a man's sister-in-law be drowning, shall he rescue her with his hand? Menko says, he who would not so rescue the drowning woman is a wolf. For males and females not to allow their hands to touch in giving and receiving is the general rule. When a sister-in-law is drowning, to rescue her with the hand is a peculiar exigency. Kung says, the whole kingdom is drowning. How strange is it that you will not rescue it? Menko answers, a drowning kingdom must be rescued with right principles, as a drowning sister-in-law has to be rescued with the hand. Do you wish me to rescue the kingdom with my hand? Gong Su Chao says, why is it that the superior man does not himself teach his son? Menko replies, the circumstances of the case forbid its being done. The teacher must inculcate what is correct. When he inculcates what is correct, and his lessons are not practiced, he follows them up with being angry. When he follows them up with being angry, then, contrary to what should be, he is offended with his son. At the same time, the pupil says, my master inculcates on me what is correct, and he himself does not proceed in a correct path. The result of this is that father and son are offended with each other. When father and son come to be offended with each other, the case is evil. The ancients exchanged sons, and one taught the son of another. Between father and son there should be no reproving admonitions to what is benevolent. Such reproofs lead to alienation, and then alienation, there is nothing further inauspicious. Menko says, of services, which is the greatest? The service of parents is the greatest. Of charges, what is the greatest? The charge of oneself is the greatest. That those who do not fail to keep themselves are able to serve their parents is what I have heard. But I have never heard of any who, having failed to keep themselves, were able notwithstanding to serve their parents. There are many services, but the service of parents is the root of all others. There are many charges, but the charge of oneself is the root of all others. The philosopher Zheng, in nourishing Zheng Zi, was always sure to have wine and flesh provided, and when they were being removed, he would ask respectfully to whom he should give what was left. If his father asked whether there was anything left, he was sure to say, there is. After the death of Zheng Zi, when Zheng Yuan came to nourish Zheng Zi, he was always sure to have wine and flesh provided. But when the things were being removed, he did not ask to whom he should give what was left, and if his father asked whether there was anything left, he would answer no, intending to bring them in again. This is what is called nourishing the mouth and body. We may call Zheng Zi's practice nourishing the will. To serve one's parents as Zheng Zi served his may be accepted as filial piety. Menko says, it is not enough to remonstrate with a sovereign on account of the malemployment of ministers, nor to blame errors of government. It is only the great man who can rectify what is wrong in the sovereign's mind. Let the prince be benevolent, and all his acts will be benevolent. Let the prince be righteous, and all his acts will be righteous. Let the prince be correct, and everything will be correct. Once rectify the ruler, and the kingdom will be firmly settled. Menko says, there are cases of honor which could not be expected, and of reproach when the parties have been seeking to be perfect. Menko says, men's being ready with their tongues arises simply from their not having been reproved. Menko says, the evil of men is that they like to be teachers of others. The disciple Yu Zheng goes in the train of Zi Ao to Qi. He comes to see Menke, who says to him, are you also come to see me? Yu Zheng replies, Master, why do you speak such words? How many days have you been here? Asks Menke. I came yesterday. Yesterday. Is it not with reason then that I thus speak? My lodging house was not arranged. Have you heard that a scholar's lodging house must be arranged before he visit his elder? Yu Zheng says, I have done wrong. Menke, addressing the disciple Yu Zheng, says to him, your coming here in the train of Zi Ao was only because of the food and the drink. I could not have thought that you, having learned the doctrine of the ancients, would have acted with a view to eating and drinking. Menke says, there are three things which are unfilial, and to have no posterity is the greatest of them. Shun married without informing his parents because of this, lest he should have no posterity. Superior men consider that his doing so was the same as if he had informed them. Menke says, the richest fruit of benevolence is this, the service of one's parents. The richest fruit of righteousness is this, the obeying one's elder brothers. The richest fruit of wisdom is this, the knowing those two things and not departing from them. The richest fruit of propriety is this, the ordering and adorning those two things. The richest fruit of music is this, the rejoicing in those two things. When they are rejoiced in, they grow. Growing, how can they be repressed? When they come to this state, they cannot be repressed. Then unconsciously the feet begin to dance and the hands to move. Menke says, suppose the case of the whole kingdom turning in great delight to an individual to submit to him, to regard the whole kingdom thus turning to him in great delight, but as a bundle of grass. Only Shun was capable of this. He considered that if one could not get the hearts of his parents, he could not be considered a man, and that if he could not get to an entire accord with his parents, he could not be considered a son. By Shun's completely fulfilling everything by which a parent could be served, Gu Sao was brought to find delight in what was benevolent. When Gu Sao was brought to find that delight, the whole kingdom was transformed. When Gu Sao was brought to find that delight, all fathers and sons of the kingdom were established in their respective duties. This is called great filial piety. The Digha Nikaya, Sakka Panya Sutta 21, Chapter 1. Thus have I heard. The Exalted One was once staying in Magadha to the east of Rajagaha at a Brahmin village named Ambasanda. There he resided on the Vidya mountain to the north of the village in the cave called the Cave of Indra Sal Tree. Now at that time a longing came over Sakka, the king of the angels, to visit the Exalted One, and this idea occurred to him. Where may he now be staying? The Exalted One, the Arhat, the Buddha Supreme. And Sakka saw that he was staying in Magadha at Ambasanda, east of Rajagaha, in the cave called Indra's Sultry Cave, on the Vidya mountain to the north of the village. And seeing that, he said to the 33 angels, Gentlemen, that Exalted One is staying in Magadha to the east of Rajagaha at a Brahmin village named Ambasanda, in the cave called Indra's Sultry Cave, on the Vidya mountain to the north of the village. How would it be, gentlemen, if we were to go and visit the Exalted One? So be it, and benevolent luck to you, replied the 33 angels, consenting. Then Sakka made the same statement and proposal to Five Crest the Gandhava, and received the same reply, and Five Crest, taking his lyre of yellow beluva wood, followed in attendance on Sakka, the king of the angels. So Sakka, the king of the angels, surrounded by the 33 and attended by Five Crest the Gandhava, vanished from his heaven as easily as a strong man might shoot out his arm, or draw in his arm out shot, and reappeared in Magadha, standing on the Vidya mountain. Now at that time the Vidya mountain was bathed in radiance, and so was Ambasanda, the Brahmin village. Such is the potency of the celestials, so much so that in the villages round about folk were saying, for sure the Vidya mountain is on fire today, for sure the Vidya mountain is burning today, for sure the Vidya mountain is inflamed today. Why, oh why is the Vidya mountain bathed in radiance today? and Ambasanda too, the Brahmin's village, and they were anxious and sore afraid. Then said Saka, the king of the angels, to Five Crested and Gandhava, difficult of approach, dear Five Crest, are Tathagatas to one like me when they are wrapped in the bliss of meditation, and for that purpose abiding in solitude. But if you were to first gain over the Exalted One by your music, then might I afterwards come up and visit him, the Arhat, the Buddha Supreme. So be it, and benevolent luck to you, consented Five Crest, and taking his lyre, he went to this Indra solitary cave. On coming there, he thought, thus distant will the Exalted One be, neither too distant nor too near to me, and he will hear my voice. And he stood on one side and let his lyre be heard, and recited these verses concerning the Awakened One and the Dharma, the Arhats, and love. Lady, thy far Timbaro I greet with honors due, O glory of the soleil, in that he wrought a thing so nobly fair as thou, O font holy of all my joy. Sweet as the breeze to one fordone with sweat, sweet as a cooling drink to one athirst, so dear art thou, O presence radiant, to me dear as to Arhats the Dharma. As medicine bringing ease to one that's sick, as food to starving man, so lady quench as with cool waters me who am all aflame. Even as an elephant with heat oppressed hies him to some still pool, upon whose face petals and pollen of the lotus float, so would I sink within thy bosom sweet. Even as an elephant fretted by hook dashes unheeding curb and goad aside, so I, crazed by the beauty of thy form, know not the why and wherefore of my acts. By thee my heart is held in bonds, and all bent out of course, nor can I turn me back, no further than fish once he hath taken the bait. Within thine arm embrace me, lady, me with thy soft languid eye, embrace and hold, O nobly fair, this I entreat of thee. Scanty in sooth, O maid of waving locks, was my desire, but now it swelleth I, indefinitely great, even as the gifts made by the faithful to the Arahats. Whatever of merit to such holy ones I've wrought, be thou altogether fair. The ripened fruit to fall therefrom to me, whatever of other merit I have wrought in the wide world, O altogether fair, be thou the fruit thereof to fall to me. As the great Sakyan seer, through ecstasy wrapped and intent and self-possessed, doth brood seeking ambrosia, even so do I pursue the quest of thee, O glory of the soleil. As would that seer rejoice were he to win ineffable enlightenment, so I with thee made one, O fairest, were in bliss. And if perchance a boon were granted me by Saka, master of the 33 angels, 'tis thee I'd ask of him, lady, so strong my love. And for thy far wisest maid, him as a solitary freshly burgeoning, I honor for such peerless offspring given. When Five Crest had finished, the Exalted One said to him, the sound of your strings, Five Crest, so harmonizes with that of your song, and the song of your voice, the sound of your voice with that of the strings, that your lyre does not too much color your song, nor your song too much color your play. Where, Five Crest, did you learn these verses concerning the Awakened One and the Dharma, the Arhats, and love? The Exalted One Master was staying at Urovala on the bank of the Niranjara River, at the foot of the goatherd's banyan tree, before he attained to enlightenment. Now at that time, Master, the lady called Bada, in appearance as Soleil Shine, daughter of Timbaro, king of the Gandhavas, was beloved by me. But that lady, Master, was in love with another, Sikadi, son of Matali the charioteer. And since I could not get the lady by any method whatever, I took my lyre of yellow beluva wood, and going to the abode of Timbaro, king of the Gandhavas, I played my lyre and recited these verses concerning the Awakened One, the Dharma, and the Arhats, and love. Lady, thy far Timbaro I greet with honor due, O glory of the soleil, in that he wrought a thing so nobly fair as thou, O font of holy of all my joy. Sweet as the breeze to one fordone with sweat, sweet as a cooling drink to one athirst, so dear art thou, O presence radiant, to me dear as to Arhats the Dharma. As medicine bringing ease to one that's sick, as food to starving man, so lady quench as with cool waters me who am all aflame. Even as an elephant with heat oppressed hies him to some still pool, upon whose face petals and pollen of the lotus float, so would I sink within thy bosom sweet. Even as an elephant fretted by hook dashes unheeding curb and goad aside, so I, crazed by the beauty of thy form, know not the why and wherefore of my acts. By thee my heart is held in bonds, and all bent out of course, nor can I turn me back, no further than fish once he hath taken the bait. Within thine arm embrace me, lady, with thy soft languid eye, embrace and hold, O nobly fair, this I entreat of thee. Scanty in sooth, O maid of waving locks, was my desire, but now it swelleth I indefinitely great, even as the gifts made by the faithful to the Arahats. Whatever of merit to such holy ones I've wrought, be thou, O altogether fair, the ripened fruit to fall therefrom to me. Whatever of other merit I have wrought in the wide world, O altogether fair, be thou the fruit thereof to fall to me. As the great Sakyan seer, through ecstasy wrapped in intent and self-possessed, doth brood seeking ambrosia, even so do I pursue the quest of thee, O glory of the soleil. As would that seer rejoice, were he to win ineffable enlightenment, so I with thee made one, O fairest, were in bliss. If perchance a boon were granted me by Saka, the master of the 33 angels, 'tis thee I'd ask of him, lady so strong my love. And for thy far wisest made him as a solid tree freshly burgeoning, I honor for such peerless offspring given. And when I had finished, master, the lady Surya Vachasa said to me, That blessed one, sir, I have not seen face to face, and yet I heard of him when I went to dance at the Sudama hall of the 33 angels. Since you so extol the blessed one, let there be a meeting between thee and me today. So, master, I met that lady, not on that day, but afterwards. Now Saka, the king of the angels, thought, 5 crests and the exalted one are in friendly converse. And he called to 5 crests and said, Salute the exalted one for me, dear 5 crests, and tell him, Saka, master, the ruler of the angels, with his ministers and suite, does homage at the foot of the exalted one. And 5 crests did so. May benevolent fortune 5 crests attend Saka, ruler of the angels, and his ministers and suite. So they desire happiness, those angels and men, asuras, nagas, gandhabas, and whatever other numerous hosts there be. On this wise do the Tathagatas salute these dignitaries. And so saluted by the exalted one, Saka, the king of the angels, entered the cave of Indra solitary, and saluting the exalted one stood on one side. Thus did also the 33 angels and 5 crests the Gandhava. Now at that time in the cave the rough passages were made smooth, the narrow spaces were made wide, and in the dark cavern it became bright. Such was the potency of the celestials. Then said the exalted one to Saka, Wonderful is this, marvelous is this, that the venerable Kosiya, with so much to do, so much to perform, should come hither. For a long time, master, I have been desirous of coming to see the exalted one, but I was hindered by one task and another that I had to perform for the 33 angels, and was not able to come. On one occasion, the exalted one was staying at Savati in the Salala cottage, so I went to Savati to see the exalted one. Now at that time, master, the exalted one was seated, wrapped in some stage of meditation, and Bunjati, wife of Vesavana, was waiting on him, honoring with clasped hands. Then I said to Bunjati, Madam, do you salute the exalted one for me, and say, Saka, master, ruler of the angels, with ministers and suite, does homage at the feet of the exalted one. And Bunjati replied, 'Tis not the right time, sir, for seeing the exalted one, he is in retreat. Well then, madam, when the exalted one rouses himself from his meditation, salute him for me, and say what I have told you. Did the lady so salute the exalted one, master, for me? And does the exalted one remember what she said? She did salute me, ruler of the angels. I remember her words, and this too, that it was the noise of your excellency's chariot wheels that aroused me from that meditation. Master, I have heard and understood when in the presence of those angels who were reborn into the heaven of the 33 before us, that when a Tathagata and Arhat Buddha Supreme arises in the world, the celestial hosts wax in numbers, and the Asura hosts wane. And I myself, master, have seen and can witness that this is so. Take, master, this case. There was at Kapilavatthu a daughter of the Sakyans named Gopika, who trusted in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and who fulfilled the precepts. She, having abandoned a woman's thoughts and cultivated the thoughts of a man, was at the dissolution of the body after her death reborn to a pleasant life, into the communion of the 33 angels, into sonship with us. And there they knew her as Gopaka, and of the sons of the angels, Gopaka of the sons of the angels. Further, master, there were 3 bhikshus who, having followed the religious life prescribed by the exalted one, were reborn into a lower state amongst the Gandhavas. Surrounded by and enjoying the pleasures of the 5 senses, they used to wait upon and minister to us. Things being so, Gopaka upbraided them, saying, Where were your ears, sirs, that you hearkened not to the Dharma of the exalted one? Here am I, who, being but a maiden, trusting in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and fulfilling the precepts, abandoned all my woman's thoughts, and cultivating a man's thoughts, was reborn after my death into a pleasant life, into communion with the 33 angels, into the sonship of Saka, the master of the angels, and am known as Gopaka, son of the angels. But ye, sirs, following the religious life of the Exalted One, have only been reborn into the lower state of Gandavas. A sad thing indeed is this to see when we behold our co-religionists reborn into the inferior condition of Gandavas. Of those fairies, master, thus rebuked by Gopaka, two acquired in that same lifetime mindfulness, and therewith the heaven of the ministers of Brahma. But the third fairy clave to sensuous enjoyment. Disciple once of him who sees by name they called me, Gopika, in Buddha Dharma firm my trust I serve, the Sangha glad of heart. Through this benevolent service paid to him, behold me, son of Saka, born all glorious in the Deva world of mighty power, and known henceforth as Gopaka. Now saw I men who, bhikshus in a former birth, had won to mere Gandhava rank. What persons erst of humankind and followers of Gautama, supplied by us with food and drink, and tended in our own abode, where were their ears that they, so blessed, yet failed to grasp the Buddha's law? The gospel well proclaimed to all, and understood by him who sees, each for himself must comprehend. I, serving only you, have heard the benevolent words of the noble ones, and now behold me reborn here, all glorious and powerful as Saka's son in Deva world. But you, who serve the best of men, and by the highest shaped your lives, have reappeared in lowly rank, degraded from your due advance. An evil sight is this, to see one's co-religion is sunk low, whereas Gandhava spirits, sirs, ye come to wait upon the angels. For me, see what a change is here. From house life as a woman, I am male today, an angel reborn, and joy celestial take my share. Upbraided thus by Gopaka, disciple erst of Gautama, the in sore anguish made response. Yea, verily, let us go hence, and strive our utmost, lest we live the slaves of others. Of the three, two went their way, their will unto the work, mindful of Gautama's behests. The perils of the life of sense they saw, even here cleansing their hearts, and like an elephant that bursts each strap and rope, so they overcame the fetters and the bonds of sense, ties of the evil ones, so hard to get beyond. Yea, even the angels, the 33, seated round with Indra, with Pachapati enthroned in Sudama's hall, the heroes twain left distantly behind, purging all passion, ousting lust. At sight of them distress arose in Vasava, ruler of angels, in the midst of all his retinue. Lo, now these born to lower rank outstrip the 33 angels. His sovereign's apprehension heard, Gopaka spake to Vasava, O Indra, in the world of men a Buddha called the Sakya, a sage, is conqueror over the world of sense. And these his children who had lost all conscience when they left the world, through me their conscience have regained. One of the three yet dwelleth here, reborn amongst Gandhava folk, and two on the highest wisdom bent, in deepest rapture scorn the angels. Let no disciple ever doubt that by the kind who here abide, the truth, the Dhamma may yet be realized. All hail to Buddha, who hath crossed the flood and put an end to doubt, the great conqueror and master of all. They recognize thy Dharma even here, and they have onward passed and won to eminence. Amongst Brahma's ministers they twain have won a higher place than this. And we are come here, O Master, that we too may attain that Dharma. If the Exalted One should grant us leave, Master, we fain would question him. Then the Exalted One thought, for a long time now this Saka has lived a pure life. Whatever question he may ask of me will be to beneficial purpose and not frivolous. And what I shall answer, that will he quickly understand. Then did the Exalted One address these verses to Saka, Master of the Angels. Question me, Vasava, whatever thy mind desires, and on each problem put, I'll end thy doubts. Dhammapada, the Arahanta Vaga, número 7. The fever of passion exists not for him who has completed the journey, who is sorrowless and wholly set free, and has broken all ties. The mindful ones exert themselves, they are not attached to any home. Like swans that abandon the lake, they leave home after home behind. Those who do not accumulate and are wise regarding food, whose object is the void, the unconditioned freedom, their track cannot be traced, like that of birds in the air. He whose cankers are destroyed and who is not attached to food, whose object is the void, the unconditioned freedom, his path cannot be traced, like that of birds in the air. Even the angels hold dear the wise one, whose senses are subdued like horses well trained by a charioteer, whose pride is destroyed and who is free from the cankers. There is no further worldly existence for the wise one who, like the earth, resents nothing, who is firm as a high pillar and as pure as a deep pool free from mud. Calm is his thought, calm his speech, and calm his deed. Who truly knowing is wholly freed, perfectly tranquil and wise. The man who is without blind faith, who knows the uncreated, who has severed all links, destroyed all causes for karma, benevolent and evil, and thrown out all desires, he truly is the most excellent of men. Inspiring indeed is that place where arhats dwell, be it a village, a forest, a vale, or a hill. Inspiring are the forests in which the worldlings find no pleasure. There the passionless will rejoice, for they seek no sensual pleasures. Gospels, Luke 23-24. Then the whole assembly rose and led him off to Pilate, and they began to accuse him, saying, "We have found this man subverting our nation. He opposes payment of taxes to Caesar and claims to be Messiah, a king." So Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jewish brethren?" "You have said so," Jesus replied. Then Pilate announced to the chief priests and the crowd, "I find no basis for a charge against this man." But they insisted, "He stirs up the people all over Judea by his teaching. He started in Galilee and has come all the way here." On hearing this, Pilate asked if the man was a Galilean. When he learned that Jesus was under Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who was also in Jerusalem at that time. When Herod saw Jesus, he was greatly pleased, because for a long time he had been wanting to see him. From what he had heard about him, he hoped to see him perform a sign of some sort. He plied him with many questions, but Jesus gave him no answer. The chief priests and the teachers of the law were standing there vehemently accusing him. Then Herod and his soldiers ridiculed and mocked him. Dressing him in an elegant robe, they sent him back to Pilate. That day Herod and Pilate became friends. Before this they had been enemies. Pilate called together the chief priests, the rulers, and the people, and said to them, "You brought me this man as one who was inciting the people to rebellion. I have examined him in your presence, and have found no basis for your charges against him. Neither has Herod, for he sent him back to us. As you can see, he has done nothing to deserve death. Therefore I will punish him and then release him." But the whole crowd shouted, "Away with this man, release Barabbas to us." Barabbas had been thrown into prison for an insurrection in the city and for murder. Wanting to release Jesus, Pilate appealed to them again, but they kept shouting, "Crucify him, crucify him." For the third time he spoke to them, "Why, what crime has this man committed? I found in him no grounds for the death penalty. Therefore I will have him punished and then release him." But with loud shouts they insistently demanded that he be crucified, and their shouts prevailed. So Pilate decided to grant their demand. He released the man who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder, the one they asked for, and surrendered Jesus to their will. As the soldiers led him away, they seized Simon from Cyrene, who was on his way in from the country, and put the cross on him and made him carry it behind Jesus. A large number of people followed him, including women who grieved and wailed for him. Jesus turned and said to them, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, weep for yourselves and for your children. For the time will come when you will say, Blessed are the childless women, the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed. Then they will say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For if people do these things when the tree is green, what will happen when it is dry?" 2 other men, both criminals, were also led out with him to be executed. When they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there along with the criminals, one on his right, the other on his left. Jesus said, "Creator, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And they divided up his clothes by casting lots. The people stood watching, and the rulers even sneered at him. They said, "He saved others, let him save himself, if he is God's Messiah, the chosen one." The soldiers also came up and mocked him. They offered him wine vinegar, and said, "If you are the king of the Jewish brethren, save yourself." There was a written notice above him, which read, "This is the king of the Jewish brethren." One of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at him. "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us." But the other criminal rebuked him. "Don't you fear God?" He said, "Since you are under the same sentence, we are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your sovereignty, into your kingdom." Jesus answered him, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. For the soleil stopped shining, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Creator, into your hands I commit my spirit." When he had said this, he breathed his last. The centurion, seeing what had happened, praised God and said, "Surely this was a righteous man." When all the people who had gathered to witness this sight saw what took place, they beat their breasts and went away. But all those who knew him, including the women who had followed him from Galilee, stood at a distance watching these things. Now there was a man named Joseph, a member of the council, a benevolent and upright man, who had not consented to their decision and action. He came from the Judean town of Arimathea, and he himself was waiting for the sovereignty of God. Going to Pilate, he asked for Jesus' body. When he took it down, wrapped it in linen cloth, and placed it in a tomb cut in the rock, one in which no one had yet been laid. It was preparation day, and Shabbat was about to begin. The women who had come with Jesus from Galilee followed Joseph and saw the tomb and how his body was laid in it. Then they went home and prepared spices and perfumes, but they rested on Shabbat in obedience to the commandment. On the first week of the day, very early in the matin, the women took the spices they had prepared and went to the tomb. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they entered, they did not find the body of the Master Jesus. Whilst they were wondering about this, suddenly two men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood beside them. In their fright, the women bowed down with their faces to the ground, but the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living amongst the dead? He is not here. He is risen. Remember how he told you whilst he was still with you in Galilee. The Son of Man must be delivered over to the hands of sinners, be crucified, and on the third day be raised again." Then they remembered his words. When they came back from the tomb, they told all these things to the 11 and to all the others. It was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and the others with them who told this to the apostles. But they did not believe the women, because their words seemed to them like nonsense. Peter, however, got up and ran to the tomb. Bending over, he saw the strips of linen lying beside themselves, and he went away, wondering to himself what had happened. Now that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking with each other about everything that had happened. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" They stood still, their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened here in these days?" "What things?" he asked. "About Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel, and what is further, it is the third day since all this took place. In addition, some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this matin, but didn't find his body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it just as the woman had said, but they did not see Jesus. He said to them, "How foolish you are, and how slow to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory?" And beginning with Moshe and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. As they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus continued on as if he were going further. But they urged him strongly, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening, the day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. They asked each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us whilst he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us?" They got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. There they found the 11 and those with them assembled together and saying, "It is true, the Master has risen and has appeared to Shimon." Then the two told what had happened on the way and how Jesus was recognized by them when he broke the bread. Whilst they were still talking about this, Jesus himself stood amongst them and said to them, "Peace be with you." They were startled and frightened, thinking they saw a ghost. He said to them, "Why are you troubled, and why do doubts rise in your minds? Look at my hands and my feet. It is I myself. Touch me and see. A ghost does not have flesh and bones, as you see I have." When he had said this, he showed them his hands and feet, and whilst they still did not believe it because of joy and amazement, he asked them, "Do you have anything here to eat?" They gave him a portion of broiled fish, and he took it and ate it in their presence. He said to them, "This is what I told you whilst I was still with you. Everything must be fulfilled that is written about me in the law of Moshe and the prophets and the Psalms." Then he opened their minds so that they could understand the scriptures. He told them, "This is what is written, the Messiah will suffer and rise from the dead on the third day. And repentance for the forgiveness of sins will be preached in his name to all the nations, beginning at Yerushalayim. You are witnesses of these things. I am going to send you what my Creator has promised, but stay in the city until you have been clothed with power from on high." When he had led them out to the vicinity of Bethany, he lifted up his hands and blessed them. Whilst he was blessing them, he left them and was taken up into heaven. Then they honored him and returned to Jerusalem with great joy. And they stayed continually at the temple, praising God. Quran, Surah Al-Mumin, o Kafir, 40. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Hamim. The revelation of this book is from Allah, exalted and power, full of knowledge. Who forgiveth sin, accepteth repentance, is strict in punishment, and hath a long reach in all things. There is none other deity but Allah. To Allah is the final goal. None can dispute about the signs of Allah but the unbelievers. Let not then their strutting about through the land deceive thee. But there were people before them who denied the signs, the people of Noah and the confederates of evil after them. And every people plotted against their prophet to seize him, and disputed by means of vanities therewith to condemn the truth. But it was I that seized them, and how terrible was my requital. Thus was the decree of thy Lord proved true against the unbelievers, that truly they are companions of the fire. Those who sustain the throne of Allah and those around it sing glory and praise to their Lord, believe in Allah, and implore forgiveness for those who believe. Our Lord, thy reaches over all things in mercy and knowledge. Forgive them, those who turn in repentance and follow thy path, and preserve them from the penalty of the blazing fire. And grant, our Lord, that they enter the gardens of eternity, which thou hast promised to them, and to the righteous amongst their fathers, their wives, and their posterity, for thou art Allah, the exalted in might, full of wisdom. And preserve them from all ills, and any whom thou dost preserve from ills that day, on them wilt thou have bestowed mercy indeed, and that will be truly for them the highest achievement. The unbelievers will be addressed, greater was the aversion of Allah to you than is your aversion to yourselves, seeing that ye were called to the faith, and ye used to refuse. They will say, Our Lord, twice hast thou made us without life, and twice hast thou given us life. Now have we recognized our sins. Is there any way out of this? The answer will be, this is because when Allah was invoked as the only object of worship, ye did reject faith. But when partners were joined to Allah, ye believed. The command is with Allah most high, most great. Allah it is who showeth you Allah's signs, and sendeth down sustenance for you from the sky, but only those receive admonition who turn to Allah. Call ye then upon Allah with sincere devotion to Allah, even though the unbelievers may detest it. Raised high above ranks or degrees, Allah is the Lord of the throne of authority. By Allah's command doth Allah send the spirit of inspiration to any of Allah's servants Allah pleases, that it may warn men of the day of mutual meeting, the day whereon they will all come forth, and not a single thing concerning them is hidden from Allah. Whose will be the dominion that day? That of Allah, the One, the Irresistible. That day will every soul be requited for what it earned. No injustice will there be that day, for Allah is swift in taking account. Warn them of the day that is ever drawing near, when the hearts will come right up to the throats to choke them. No intimate friend nor intercessor will the wrongdoers have, who could be listened to. Allah knows of the tricks that deceive with the eyes, and all that the hearts of men conceal. And Allah will judge with justice and truth, but those whom men invoke besides Allah will not be in a position to judge at all. Verily, it is Allah alone who hears and sees all things. Do they not travel through the earth and see what was the end of those before them? They were even superior to them in strength and in the traces they have left in the land, but Allah did call them to account for their sins, and none had they to defend them against Allah. That was because there came to them their apostles with clear signs, but they rejected them, so Allah called them to account, for Allah is full of strength, strict in punishment. Of old we sent Moshe with our signs and an authority manifest to Pharaoh, Haman, and Karun, but they called him a sorcerer telling lies. Now when he came to them in truth from us, they said, Slay the sons of those who believe with them, and keep alive their females, but the plots of unbelievers end in nothing but errors and delusions. Said Pharaoh, leave me to slay Moshe, and let him call on his Lord. What I fear is lest he should change your religion, or lest he should cause mischief to appear in the land. Moshe said, I have indeed called upon my Lord and your Lord for protection from every arrogant one who believes not in the day of account. A believer, a man from amongst the people of Pharaoh who had concealed his faith, said, will you slay a man because he says, my Lord is Allah, when he has indeed come to you with clear signs from your Lord? And if he be a liar, on him is the sin of his lie. But if he is telling the truth, then will fall on you something of the calamity of which he warns you. Truly, Allah guides not one who transgresses and lies. O my people, yours is the dominion this day. Ye have the upper hand in the land, but who will help us from the punishment of Allah should it befall us? Pharaoh said, I but point out to you that which I see myself, nor do I guide you but to the path of right. Then said the man who believed, O my people, truly I do fear for you something like the day of disaster of the confederates in sin, something like the fate of the people of Noach, the Ad, and the Talmud, and those who came after them. But Allah never wishes injustice to Allah's servants. And, O my people, I fear for you a day when there will be mutual calling and wailing, a day when ye shall turn your backs and flee. No defender shall ye have from Allah. Any whom Allah leaves to stray, there is none to guide. And to you there came Joseph in times gone by with clear signs, but ye cease not to doubt of the mission for which he had come. At length, when he died, he said, no apostle will Allah send after him. Thus doth Allah leave to stray such as transgress and live in doubt, such as dispute about the signs of Allah without any authority that hath reached them. Grievous and odious is such conduct in the sight of Allah and of the believers. Thus doth Allah seal up every heart of arrogant and obstinate transgressors. Pharaoh said, O Haman, build me a lofty palace, that I may attain the ways and means of reaching the heavens, and that I may mount on up to Allah of Moshe. But as much as I am concerned, I think Moshe is a liar. Thus was made alluring in Pharaoh's eyes the evil of his deeds, and he was hindered from the path, and the plot of Pharaoh led to nothing but perdition for him. The man who believed said further, O my people, follow me, I will lead you to the path of right. O my people, this life of the present is nothing but temporary convenience. It is the hereafter that is the home that will last. He that works evil will not be requited, but by the like thereof. And he that works a righteous deed, whether man or woman, and is a believer, such will enter the garden of bliss. Therein will they have abundance without measure. And, O my people, how strange it is for me to call you to salvation, whilst ye call me to the fire. Ye do call upon me to blaspheme against Allah, and to join with Allah partners of whom I have no knowledge. And I call you to the exalted in power, who forgives again and again. Without doubt ye do call me to one who is not fit to be called to, whether in this world or in the hereafter. Our return will be to Allah, and the transgressors will be companions of the fire. Soon will you remember what I say to you now. My own affair I commit to Allah, for Allah ever watches over Allah's servants. Then Allah saved him from every ill that they plotted against him, but the burnt of the penalty encompassed on all sides the people of Pharaoh. In front of the fire will they be brought matin and evening, and the sentence will be on the day that judgment will be established. Cast ye the people of Pharaoh into the severest penalty. Behold, they will dispute with each other in the fire. The weak ones who followed will say to those who had been arrogant, we but followed you. Can ye then take on yourselves from us some share of the fire? Those who had been arrogant will say, we are all in this fire. Truly Allah has judged between Allah's servants. Those in the fire will say to the keepers of hell, pray to your Lord to lighten us the penalty for a day at least. They will say, did there not come to you your apostles with clear signs? They will say, yes. They will reply, then pray as ye like, but the prayer of those without faith is nothing but futile wandering in mazes of error. We will without doubt help our apostles and those who believe, both in this world's life and on the day when the witnesses will stand forth. The day when no benefit will it be to wrongdoers to present their excuses, but they will only have the curse and the home of misery. We did aforetime give Moshe the book of guidance, and we gave the book in inheritance to the children of Israel, a guide and a message to men of understanding. Patiently then persevere, for the promise of Allah is true, and ask forgiveness for thy fault, and celebrate the praises of thy Lord in the evening and in the matin. Those who dispute about the signs of Allah without any authority bestowed on them, there is nothing in their breasts but the quest of greatness, which they shall never attain to. Seek refuge then in Allah, and it is Allah who hears and sees all things. Assuredly, the creation of the heavens and the earth is a greater matter than the creation of men, yet most men understand not. Not equal are the blind and those who clearly see, nor are equal those who believe and work deeds of righteousness, and those who do evil. Little do ye learn by admonition. The hour will certainly come, therein is no doubt, yet most men believe not. And your Lord says, Call on me, I will answer your prayer, but those who are too arrogant to serve me will surely find themselves in hell in humiliation. It is Allah who has made the night for you, that ye may rest therein, and the days as that which helps you to see. Verily, Allah is full of grace and bounty to men, yet most men give no thanks. Such is Allah, your Lord, the creator of all things. There is none other deity but Allah. Then how are ye deluded away from the truth? Thus are deluded those who are wont to reject the signs of Allah. It is Allah who has made for you the earth as a resting place, and the sky as a canopy, and has given you shape, and made your shapes beautiful, and has provided for you sustenance of things pure and benevolent. Such is Allah your Lord, so glory to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Allah is the living one, there is none other deity but Allah. Call upon Allah, giving Allah sincere devotion. Praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds. Say, I have forbidden to invoke those whom ye invoke besides Allah, seeing that the clear signs have come to me from my Lord, and I have been commanded to bow in Islam to the Lord of the worlds. It is Allah who has created you from the dust, then from a sperm drop, then from a leech-like clot. Then does Allah get you out into the light as a child, then lets you grow and reach your age of full strength. Then lets you become old, though of you there are some who die before, and lets you reach a term appointed in order that ye may learn wisdom. It is Allah who gives life and death, and when Allah decides upon an affair, Allah says to it be, and it is. Seest thou not those that dispute concerning the signs of Allah? How are they turned away from reality? Those who reject the book and the revelations with which we sent our apostles, but soon shall they know. When the yoke shall be round their necks, and the chains they shall be dragged along in the boiling fetid fluid, then in the fire they shall be burned. Then shall it be said to them, Where are the deities to which ye gave part worship? In derogation of Allah, they will reply, They have left us in the lurch. Nay, we invoke not of old anything that had true existence. Thus does Allah leave the unbelievers to stray. That was because ye were wont to rejoice on the earth in things other than the truth, and that ye were wont to be insolent. Enter ye the gates of hell to dwell therein, and evil is this abode of the arrogant. So persevere in patience, for the promise of Allah is true, and whether we show thee in this life some part of what we promise them, or we take thy soul to our mercy before that, in any case it is to us that they shall all return. We did aforetime send apostles before thee. Of them there are some whose story we have related to thee, and some whose story we have not related to thee. It was not possible for any apostle to bring a sign except by the leave of Allah. But when the command of Allah is issued, the matter was decided in truth and justice, and there perished there and then those who stood on falsehoods. It is Allah who made cattle for you, that ye may utilize some for riding and some for food, and there are other advantages in them for you besides, that ye may through them attain to any need there may be in your hearts, and on them and on ships ye are carried. And Allah shows you always Allah's signs, then which of the signs of Allah will ye deny? Do they not travel through the earth and see what was the end of those before them? They were further numerous than these, and superior in strength and traces they have left in the land, yet all that they accomplished was of no benefit to them. For when their apostles came to them with clear signs, they exulted in such knowledge and skill as they had, but that very wrath at which they were wont to scoff hemmed them in. But when they saw our punishment, they said, We believe in Allah, the one Allah, and we reject partners we associate to that we used to join with Allah. But their professing the faith when they actually saw our punishment was not going to benefit them. Such has been Allah's way of dealing with Allah's servants from the most ancient times, and even thus did the rejectors of Allah perish utterly. Tatvata Sutta 1.1 a 1.5. Tatvata Sutta, Chapter 1. Right faith, Samyak Darshana, right knowledge, Samyadhyana, and right conduct, Samyacharita, together constitute the path to liberation, Moksha Marga. Belief in substances ascertained as these are is right faith, Samyak Darshana. That Samyak Darshana is attained by intuition, Svabhava, or by acquisition of knowledge, Adhigama. The soul Jiva, the non-soul Ajiva, influx Ashrava, bondage Bandha, stoppage Samvara, gradual disassociation Nirjara, and liberation Moksha constitute the reality, Tattva. These are installed Nyasa or Niksepa in 4 ways. By name, Nama, representation, Stapana, substance and its potentiality, Dravya, and actual state, Bhava. The knowledge of the 7 categories is attained by means of Pramana and Naya. Knowledge of subjects like right faith, Samyak Darshana, and soul is attained by description, Nirdesa, ownership, Svamitva, cause, Sadhana, substratum, Adhikarana, duration, Sthiti, and division, Vedana. The 7 categories are known also by existence, Sat, number, Samkhya, place or abode, Kesetra, extent of space, Sparsana, time, Kala, interval of time, Antara, thought, activity, Bhava, and reciprocal comparison, Alpa Bahutva. Knowledge is of 5 kinds: sensory knowledge, matiyana; scriptural knowledge, shrutayana; clairvoyance, avadiyana; telepathy, manahe prayayana; and omniscience, kevalayana. These 5 kinds of knowledge are the 2 types of pramana, valid knowledge. The first 2 kinds of knowledge are indirect, paroksha knowledge, jnana. The remaining 3 constitute direct pratyaksha knowledge, jnana. Sensory cognition, mati; remembrance, smriti; recognition, samnya; induction, chinta; and deduction, abhinibodha, are synonyms of sensory knowledge, matiyana. That sensory knowledge, matiyana, is caused by the senses, indriya, and the mind, mana. Impression, avagraha; inquisitiveness, iha; comprehension, avaya; and retention, dharana, are the 4 stages of sensory knowledge, matiyana. The subdivisions of each of these are many: bahu, many kinds; bahuvida, quick; kisipra, hidden; anishtra, unexpressed; anukta, lasting; dhruva, and their opposites. These impression, avagraha, and additionally are sensory knowledge, matiyana, of substances, artha. There is only impression, avagraha, of indistinct things, vyayana. Indistinct impression, vyayana vagraha, does not arise in case of the eyes, chaksu, and the mind, anindriya mana. Scriptural knowledge, shrutayana, is preceded by sensory knowledge, matiyana. It is of 2 kinds, many kinds, and 12 kinds. Clairvoyance based on birth, bhava pratyaya, avadiyana, is possessed by the celestial and the infernal beings. Clairvoyance, avidiyana, due to destruction, cum subsidence, kisayopasama, is of 6 kinds. It is acquired by the rest, namely human beings and animals. The 2 kinds of telepathy, manahe paryayana, are rijumati and vipulamati. The differences between the 2 are due to purity, visuddhi, and infallibility, apratipata. Telepathy, manahe paryayana, and clairvoyance, avadiyana, differ with regard to purity, visuddhi; space, kshetra; possessor, svami; and subject matter, visaya. The range of sensory knowledge, matiyana, and scriptural knowledge, shrutayana, extends to all the six substances, dravya, but not to all their modes, paryaya. The subject matter, visaya, of clairvoyance, avadhyana, is substances with form, rupi. The scope of telepathy, manahe pratyayana, is the infinitesimal part of the matter ascertained by clairvoyance, avidyana. Omniscience, kevalyana, extends to all substances, dravya, and their modes, paryaya, simultaneously. From one up to 4 kinds of knowledge can be possessed simultaneously by a single soul. These 3 kinds of knowledge, sensory, mati, scriptural, shruta, and clairvoyance, avadi, are erroneous also. Owing to lack of discernment between the real, sat, that exists, and the unreal, asat, that does not exist. Wrong knowledge is whimsical as that of the lunatic. The figurative negama, the generic samgraha, the systematic vyavahara, the straight rujusutra, the verbal sabda, the conventional samabiruda, and the specific ivambuta are the standpoints naya. Anivrat. Ahimsa anavrat, satya anavrat, asatya anavrat, brahmacharya anavrat, aparigraha anavrat. Non-violence vow, truthfulness vow, non-stealing vow, chastity vow, non-possessiveness vow. Respect and honor to His Majesty, Haile Selassie I. Respect and honor to Her Majesty was our manan. All thanks and praise to the Most High, Elohim. Blessed love and peace, Rastafari. Alhamdulillah, Ar-Rahmani Ar-Rahim, Allahu Akbar. 道可道非成道，名可名非成名。Já Rastafari. Deus nos daqui essencial Santa Vaquita no mentu. Vahegu sanam. Baruch ata Elohim Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher kazanu bo mitodav tzivonu sok pervai Torah. Amen. Baruch ata Elohim Eloheinu melech haolam barei puriyagafim. Amen. Kyrie eleison, Sivamastu Sabrikatahi, Sabe Sata Bhavantu Sukhitata, Vagabiyam, Aquaba Upendo Naamanim, Fikiri Nesalami, Chindadam Permen, Libavmem, Umanjaka, Ubuntu Shubana Fakitka. Shishin, Kamosinina, Domo Arigato, Pedama Yellow Wakatoko, Toko Doko Shingun, Gomenagan. God, we thank you for all your blessings. Ata Jamia Yatafanami. Medo, Ho, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Amen.